Oh, hello there, yes. The weekend. Pussycat is fed, washing is on, and I've got paperwork to do. Hooray! Anyway, just briefly, in the Telegraph yesterday, there was a Tim Knox, come back to him, writing about tax, and I was chatting on a video call to a friend last night, someone I did my degree with, about the notion of economics in the UK, which is very palsied, should we say. The economics in the media is very, very poorly written. I'm not an expert on economics, but from the stuff that I've read, which is pretty extensive, I think I know bollocks when I see it. And this piece from the Telegraph is bollocks. It's, again, Tim Knox. The once great British middle class is now riddled with entitlement and dependency. New data reveals how Britain has become increasingly reliant on state handouts. Yes, indeed. And he goes on about the way that middle classes take more out than they put in. The gits. Anyway, he goes on about government tax receipts. You can have a look at the piece yourself. I'm not going to unpack all of it, but the basic, intrinsic and very, very deep flaw that it has is that it only mentions income tax, which is about a quarter of the government's kind of regular annual revenue. And if you want to talk about tax, and those of us that actually work for a living compared to being landlords and the rest of things, the sort of modern aristocracy that's out there, it often seems like the biggest chunk of things that will come out of your pay packet. But of course, there are a great number of other taxes out there as well. I mean, just generally about the British middle class taking out more than they get in. Yes, 40 years of historical sociological writing will tell you that. It's a very, very common theme in Marxist analysis of the notion of the British welfare state. You can look that up yourself. It's all over the place. It's not really new. It's decades old. You know, you can go back to, I don't know, as far as the 70s about that sort of stuff. Anyway, yes, if you just concentrate on income tax, then we end up with this kind of, oh, isn't it dreadful? All the rich people pay all of this income tax and nobody else pays any taxes at all. Well, yes, apart from the fact, again, that we're not just talking about income tax, which Tim, nice but not very good at economics, knows. And, you know, it's worthwhile sort of like, you know, thinking about the way that these things are presented, about dependency. Because if you are on a very, very low income, you know, the vast majority of the UK population are on very low incomes, a lot lower than they were a decade or so ago, and certainly an awful lot lower than they were 4 decades ago. But we won't talk about that because it's kind of inconvenient. Wonder where the money went. Yeah, to heaven. Yes, indeed. But Tim Knox knows these things. I wonder what his background is. Well, oddly enough, he's writing for the Centre for Policy Studies often. Now, you might think they're one of those nasty right-wing think tanks, libertarian think tanks based at 55 Tufton Street, which I'd say you're wrong. They're based at 57 Tufton Street, which is practically in the sticks as far as Tufton Street goes. Yes, indeed. Anyway, he has quite a long history of writing things, persuading people that they won't get lung cancer if they smoke. So, that's Tim for you. A man who's quite happy to sell you lies, even if it kills you. Yes, thanks, Tim. I'll take my economics lessons from elsewhere. And indeed, certainly not from the Daily Telegraph. It really does astound me that people fall for this kind of rubbish from that rag on a very regular basis, and it is presented somehow as this monolithic truth. And it is not. Anyway, do have a lovely day. Enjoy. Yes, get your washing dry. That would be my tip.